Hey guys, this is Shinoo with InoKinetic, here with Steffen of Analogue Automotive in the south of England.
That's right.
Out in the countryside.
Beautiful South Downs.
Absolutely. Steffen, thank you for hosting my visit.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Tell us and my fine viewers a bit more about Analogue Automotive.
Well, we're Lotus specialists based in the South Downs of England. Been here about 12, 13 years.
Okay.
Look after all sorts of Lotuses, but we have a particular love for the Series 1.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll get into that a little bit, but I had a chance to drive a bone stock Series 1 Elise, which Steffen had lined up for me, along with his Super Sport, which is his resto-modded Series 1 Elise, which we'll get into a little bit more. But first, let's talk a bit more about Steffen. How did you get into this, Steffen?
Mainly as an owner.
Yeah.
Started off, bought a, funny enough, Series 1 Elise.
Series 1 Elise.
Yeah, in probably 99, 2000.
Okay.
Drove that for a while.
So nearly 25 years.
Yeah.
Elise ownership.
Exactly.
Nice.
Many Elises. Drove that, crashed it, tracked it, crashed it,
Okay.
rebuilt it.
Nice.
Then got into doing it a little bit more professionally. And gone from there. Went through all sorts, Series 2s, Toyota cars, Rover cars,
Okay.
back to Series 1,
Yeah.
211s, Exeges, back to Series 1.
No.
So it seems to always come back to the Series 1, which is where we are now.
What brought you to even owning a Lotus? Tell us a bit more about Steffen and what you enjoy.
That was my brother-in-law's fault.
Okay.
When we were quite a bit younger, he had a membership to a classic car club, and I think because of our age, he was only allowed to drive. He wasn't allowed any Porsches or anything too exciting. So they threw him the keys to a little S1 Elise.
Nice.
I was into my hot hatches back then, and then he
Okay.
brought it around for a test drive, which turned into sort of a 2-hour test drive where he tried to prise the keys off me.
Yes.
And then a couple of years later, I'd managed to get into one myself.
Nice. What color was it?
It was azure blue.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice color.
Yeah, never had one since. Everyone since has been a different color, but I will get an azure blue one again.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a dozen Lotuses, and I've only had one which was blue. And blue is my favorite color, yet somehow I've had a precious few blue cars.
Yes. They all seem to be silver or British Racing Green. That's got a British Racing Green one.
Well, there you go. That's that classic, classic color combination. Yeah. So you guys are situated down here in the south of England. I'd actually never been this far south. You're very, very close to Goodwood.
Yeah, we just had lunch.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I had not been there before. I've been all over this beautiful country. And somehow I never made it this far south. The roads were pretty amazing.
Yeah, even in the rain. It was raining there, but when we got there, it was all sun shone at Goodwood, didn't it?
It did. It shined on us, and it was wonderful. We actually got to go watch a couple of classic 911s going around the track. That was fun.
Well,
Driving around here, and I've driven all over this country, you can start to see why people love these lightweight, small cars.
Yeah.
But your B roads are narrow.
Yeah.
They are twisty. They're undulating. It's gorgeous, so much fun to drive. And I can see how these British cars kind of came to be. If you drive the roads here, you're going to naturally love these type of cars, right? So tell me more about what you guys have been doing at Analogue with this Series 1 car.
Yeah, so the issue is the cars seem to be, the trend is for them to get heavier. They're getting bigger.
That's right.
We've still got the same roads. The roads need to be getting bigger. They're not. The cars are getting bigger and getting heavier. As you say, our roads around here are classic English B road, which is quite narrow, usually 2 lanes. Sometimes we've got reasonable sort of 60-mile-an-hour speed limits, but they'll be twisty up and down, sometimes faster stretches. But it's you need a car that can move around, and so that's what we do with all our Elises, whether it's suspension setup. We make them so that they've got enough suspension travel, they're compliant. They're not a track car. I mean, we do track cars and we prepare and run track cars, but this is particularly the Analogue Elise is as a softer, lighter weight sports car for a British or a similar B road.
So many of us in the US who are drawn to the Elise, the Series 1 car was really what got us super excited. I mean, I've had a picture of a Series 1 Elise on my desk since the 90s, right? I fell in love with that car, and we never really got it in the States officially as a street car. And so what Analogue are doing is very similar to what we're doing with the Series 2 cars with our 111 RS builds. They're improving everything in the car. And having driven the 2, I can tell you firsthand, their car feels fantastic. It's more compliant than the stock car through some of the rough B roads. The car feels so planted. It's absolutely a stable, solid feeling car. Yet it's lighter, right? That's the interesting bit.
Yeah.
You made the car feel like it was honestly more solid, but yet it's lighter.
Yeah. Whereas the heavier car feels lighter, but it's because it's tinnier.
Yeah.
You can hear things going on. It's not as well damped. It's a bit crashier.
That's right.
But there's an illusion. So the other one is a good, well, compared. That's the one you drove was a very early Series 1 sort of 97 car.
Okay.
With the metal matrix brakes. So that's sort of 695, 700 kilos.
Nice.
And ours is a good sort of 30 kilos less than that.
Well, the opportunity in my mind for a Series 1 car, is certainly significant because it's the original.
Yeah.
It's the lightest, right? It's the one that so many of us truly, truly wanted to have, right? And so I'm pretty stoked. I'm very excited about what you guys are doing. And
Thank you.
And the proof was in the pudding. Driving the car, I usually keep things reserved until I actually drive something, and then I can see for myself how good or bad is it, right? And you, like I, have been doing this for a very, very long time, and we have a lot of seat time in lots of different cars. And it's exciting when you have a go in a car that really gets you, super excited. And I think with what you guys are doing here, it's pretty amazing.
Thank you. We're trying our best.
Yeah, and the U.S. market is a very, very interesting space, and we're now reaching that point where we can start to import some cars.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? And so the Series 1 car is one of those cars.
Coming on trend, The very first cars, the sort of UK delivered cars were 97/98, so they're just sort of in that 25-year window now. Yeah,
well, it was interesting. You pointed out something to me that I had forgotten about, and that is these green glued cars, right?
Cars,
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell our viewers about that particular car, because that's something that is somewhat, one of those esoteric facts that has somehow been forgotten, and particularly maybe not even known by some of us in the States.
Yeah, so the early UK, early Elise was stroke 96, stroke 97, depends when they were sort of delivered, but the chassis were made by Hydro, which is in Denmark, which is the original developer and manufacturer of the chassis.
I met those guys at the Society of Automotive Engineers show in the 90s.
Geniuses. And they made that car, because it was in Denmark, with a green glue bonding agent. It was a little messier. I suppose it's early days, so you can always joke, you can see the sort of finger marks where they smeared the glue. They've gone quite overboard with it.
Yeah.
But when they came to, those cars were bought and manufactured in Hethel, which is a year later, so it's 98-ish.
Okay.
You'll see them transfer over onto what I call the later chassis, which has got orange glue, which then they carried on through all the way through to the current cars.
Yeah, that's the only color that we've seen on the cars that we have. So in fact, even that Sport 190 that we kept at the racetrack, that was a later car.
Yeah, so it would have been, so it probably would have been maybe late 98, I suppose, or even 99 possibly.
Yeah, so that was a cool little esoteric fact for us nerds out there that really enjoy learning something new. In fact, I think I'll make sure I put a couple of pictures in there in the video to show you this green glue chassis. But Steffen, tell us about how your car got its first real bang, from a PR perspective.
Yes.
Because I have a magazine sitting right here.
The magazine.
That, people should know about.
Yeah, so that was Evo magazine review, which wasn't that long ago, July this year. So they came down sort of, I think, mid-June. I have been talking to people about this idea for years. Well, I mean, the first full car we built from a chassis up, other than the restoration, was sort of 2016, 17, was in a couple other magazines. But, since coming up after lockdown, come up with the idea of sort of building a as new and improved Series 1. As you do, you talk to people, you sort of put some feelers out. Evo picked up on it and sort of just run with it really, and said they're going to do it was initially going to be an online review that turned into a magazine feature, and then turned into a sort of, I think it's 4 or 5, I don't know how they count the pages, but centre spread of that magazine. So that's been fantastic for us, and the phone has, and the emails have come flooding in, and people like yourself come all the way over from
absolutely.
the US to come and see us, which
Yeah, no,
never
I
used
mean,
to happen. And
I think I mentioned to you, Rob from Singer, he's the one that actually told me about your car.
That's
and how
resto mod royalty.
Yeah, exactly. And for him to suggest, hey, these guys are in Evo, I'm like, cool, who are they? And so super exciting to get that, coverage.
Yeah.
It really does make a big difference.
And validation, because it's even though I think we know what we're doing, we do know what we're doing, but it's just a relatively small group, and then to get someone like Evo on board, and with the history they've got for performance cars, and to go out and test it, and they took it out, and I thought they'd go out for a couple of hours. They were out all day in it. I was sitting there getting a little bit sweaty, wondering, what's happened? Have they put it up a tree? Has it broken down or whatever? But they came back raving, and they compared it. The other good thing was they compared it back to back with one of with the other rider. It's on his cars in the fast fleet, so that's in a month later. We've got some other stuff in the pipeline, but so it's comparing that back to back. So
nice.
Not taking away from what the original Elise was, but
sure,
just updating it with 20 plus years worth of knowledge. And I said in one of the sort of quotes in the magazine that people do what we're doing in isolation, but no one's ever sort of put it together as a package. And hopefully, after you've driven it, it's got that sort of what we tried to get, a package feel.
Absolutely.
So it feels like a product rather than just Bob's put an engine in and then Steve's done the suspension or whatever, and lots of different bits from lots of different people, which again is what you do with your RS. Makes a difference, it all being in one place.
Absolutely. And now it looks like you've got orders from different countries.
Yeah,
as well.
Nice, yeah.
That's super exciting. So congratulations for that.
Yeah, all abroad. Yeah, so some right-hand drive countries, and we've got Indonesia, and we does the restoration work as well. So there's other stuff just off the back of it. People wanting restoration work, having seen what we've done with that car. All over the world at the moment.
Well, it's cool because you have this classic version, which is a pure restoration.
Yes.
Back to kind of factory standards, making it a classic for that museum piece type of car, or somebody who just wants that driving experience.
If you want, so the same as, the one you drove today was an unrestored, low mileage, but it's 25 years old, been well maintained.
Right.
But it hasn't had suspension work, it hasn't had anything like that. So we take that car, strip it down to as bare a shell as we can, tub, and then rebuild, and just finish stuff in a bit. The wishbones, we'll use the original wishbones, but we'll powder coat those, finish them off nicer than Lotus did. Anything steel, usually on the Elise, is the weak point. It'll corrode and then eat into the aluminium. So
so for the client that just wants that classic experience, boom, you'll build that car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then for the guy that wants more,
once it turned up to 11, then,
right? Like for example, the Super Sport that I drove, the track is wider.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what you did there to achieve that.
Yeah, so we have custom wishbones made. So the wishbones, it was twofold. One, it's got larger wheels. So it's got 16, 17-inch wheels, which is an evolution from what I had in the Evo magazine, because I was running standard wheels. And then the car we're running is very much still a sort of pre-production prototype car.
Okay.
But the wide track is essentially new wishbone, slightly longer. Everyone, I think you made the same comment. We were looking at the bodywork and wondering if we flared the arches or done anything.
It looked flared.
Yeah, but it's standard bodywork, but it's fits nicely in the arch, and also gives you a wider track. Again, I think we talked about, I quite like a car that's the front ends, where it is.
Yeah.
I don't mind dealing with the rear end because it's quite short wheelbase cars. But you just, with a wider track, you can turn in and have some confidence. And when the back does step out, it's got a quaif diff in there, so you can just catch it like a go-kart and off you go. And with the extra power, because the standard Elise is.
Well, we talked about how factories have to deliver cars that understeer.
Yeah.
You remember that funny Top Gear video of Clarkson complaining that the car, understeers, and that Gavin Kershaw came on the show? And honestly, for a lot of us Americans, this cherubic-looking guy shows up. Like, who is this guy? He gets in the car and starts steering at it, moving it. We didn't know he was a ride handling engineer. But then, obviously that guy is a talent.
Yeah, so it's how you set it up as well. But it's the wide track essentially just gives it's still quite a short wheelbase car, the S1, which is, as you go to the S2s, they got slightly longer.
Sure.
But it just transforms it. It means we can run, the car's lighter.
Yeah.
Almost, it's quite significant compared to the last S1, which was probably, almost 80, 90 kilos heavier.
Okay.
And they just progressively got heavier and heavier as into S2s, etc. So we just try to get back as much weight, and we'll be preparing back more as we move on with some other models in the pipeline.
Nice. Well, you did give me a little sneak peek on some confidential, developments in the workshop, and I'll leave it at that. But it's exciting, super exciting. Being a driver, a car nerd like I am, and a builder of cars, and when I see other people doing fun stuff like this, it's so energizing and so exciting. So Listen, Steffen, thank you so much for your time. I really
Pleasure.
appreciate
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, driving the car was, both the cars, super, super fun and really cool to be able to contrast the two. So thanks for joining us on this video.
Pleasure.
You and I will be talking a bit more.
Yeah,
Because I think we have like-minded businesses, don't we?
Yeah, and we might have to see one in the US very shortly.
I think
as
we should
quickly as
figure
we
out
can.
something, right? Yeah. Excellent, Steffen. Thank you, man.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.